Reporting in Chelsea, Megan Allison, 2 Works for You.
We wish them well. 27 Oklahoma counties are now getting disaster assistance after last month's devastating storms. So far, FEMA has inspected more than 2,400 homes in 21 counties in the state. The government has approved nearly $11 million in disaster grants for homeowners and renters. Meanwhile, the Small Business Administration is giving out nearly $5 million in disaster loans. And the National Weather Service says straight line winds caused the damage in Manford from yesterday's storm. 2 Works for You's Jitsal Puente dropped by a daycare that was hit pretty hard.
This pile of debris is part of the roof that was torn off the Lakeside Child Development Center behind me. Now, this is just some of the visible damage the building sustained yesterday. Today, they're dealing with water damage inside the center and trying to dry it out. The owner is working with the restoration company to rebuild as soon as possible, but she says it could take from 30 to 90 days to reopen the facility. For now, they'll be closed this week and then start working with local churches and organizations to continue teaching. They currently take care of more than 80 children every day, ranging from 6 months to 12 years old. The owner says despite the long recovery ahead, the important thing is that no lives were lost.
We're very grateful that it happened on a Sunday and not on a Monday when we had children in the facility. So I'm blessed because all the children are safe.
People living in nearby neighborhoods continue cleaning up from Sunday, mostly tree and roof damage. Cleanup efforts are also underway at Manford High School, where the stadium got hit. Business owners and residents here in Manford tell me they feel fortunate for the community support during this time. Reporting in Manford, Jitsal Puente, 2 Works for You.
Now, your 2 Works for You first forecast, brought to you by Route 66 Chevrolet and Nissan of Tulsa.
And we thankfully have some much calmer weather out there for this Monday. We've had a cold front pushed across the area that's ushered in some much drier air, and the storms are well down to our south and to our east this afternoon. As we take a look at radar right there, you can see some storms across southwest Texas and then more storms across portions of Tennessee, heading back all the way across portions of Ohio. Oh, wow, what a nice afternoon it has been. A lot of sunshine. People heading home from work today. Temperatures in the lower 80s for us, and the humidity has been on the low side too for us. So it's going to be a great evening out there. We will be talking about the next chance for storms and also when that heat and humidity will be increasing too. That's all coming up about 5:15.
All right, thank you, Clint. A judge has signed off on the state's $85 million settlement with an opioid drug maker, Teva Pharmaceuticals. District judge called for the money to be used to help the state's opioid crisis. Oklahoma's lawsuit against Johnson & Johnson is still ongoing. A man is facing a long list of charges tonight. He's accused of assault, robbery, and kidnapping after many incidents in Wagoner County. In December, the sheriff's office says that Aaron Johnson and 2 other men broke into an elderly man's home, beat him, and stole his truck. Then in February, deputies say that Johnson broke into the Redbird Fire Department and stole 2 fire trucks. Earlier in 2018, investigators say Johnson was charged with burglary, robbery, and kidnapping a teenage boy. He made bail on those charges and was given a GPS ankle bracelet, and that's how deputies say they connected him to the other crimes. Developing tonight, President Trump is tightening his grip on Iran, announcing new economic sanctions to prevent the country from building a nuclear weapon. As NBC's Jennifer Johnson reports, the president is still open to talks with Iran.
President Trump slapping new economic sanctions against Iran, another attack on its struggling economy to stop leaders from building a nuclear weapon. But the president says he's open to talks.
I look forward to discussing whatever I have to discuss with anybody that wants to speak. In the meantime, who knows what's going to happen? I can only tell you we cannot ever let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
As Secretary of State Mike Pompeo travels to Saudi Arabia to build a coalition against Iran, the president is ramping up pressure after the downing of a U.S. Navy drone and attacks on oil tankers in the Gulf.
A lot of restraint has been shown by us, a lot of restraint, and that doesn't mean we're going to show it in the future.
But some Democrats believe these additional measures will not stop Iran.
I think the sanctions are more symbolic than substantive because the sanctions in place have already crippled their economy.
Meanwhile, the president has given Congress a 2-week deadline to fix immigration loopholes after calling off mass deportation raids set to begin last Sunday. Some 2,000 undocumented immigrants were to be targeted, many now living in fear.
It's outside the circle of civilized human behavior to just be kicking down doors, splitting up families.
Pelosi adding a person doesn't have to open their door unless an ICE agent has a warrant signed by a judge. This as government officials say they have moved over 300 migrant children out of a Texas border facility, following reports they were living in filthy and dangerous conditions. Jennifer Johnson, 2 Works for You.
Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders says he has a plan to get rid of almost everyone's student debt. The College for All plan would cancel most debt and let Americans go to public universities and community colleges for free. Under the plan, a Wall Street tax would help fund loan forgiveness and free public college. Federal and state governments would also have to chip in. Tomorrow, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos will give remarks at Tulsa Community College's Second Chance commencement. More than 70 students who are held at the Dick Connor Correctional Center will graduate with a degree or certificate from TCC. The students are part of the government's Second Chance Pell experiment. It gives Pell grants to people jailed in federal and state prisons so they can enroll in higher education programs. A Tulsa woman is the first Native American and the first Oklahoman to be named Poet Laureate of the United States. 2 Works for You's Tatiana Taylor takes us inside Joy Harjo's studio to find out her source of inspiration.
This is Joy Harjo's studio, where she comes to be creative. She's revised some books in here, written a lot of her poetry, and she's even working on some new music. The U.S. Poet Laureate is a position created in the Library of Congress by the head librarian of Congress. Mrs. Harjo says being named to the post has been humbling, and she is excited to represent the Muskogee Creek people. Harjo grew up reading English poetry. She says the inspiration for her own career as a poet came later.
It wasn't until I went to school at the University of New Mexico that I met Native writers, poets, who were writing about our lives, and I had never seen that before. I had never heard that before.
Harjo says she was lucky to be brought up at a time when the poetry world was beginning to accept more diverse writers. She says she didn't choose poetry, it chose her. Mrs. Harjo is excited to celebrate her title, and September 19th is the first poetry reading that she will be having at the Library of Congress as the Poet Laureate. In Tulsa, Tatiana Hempel, 2 Works for You.
Some say cannabis could be the answer to the opioid crisis. A new program is letting doctors prescribe the plant instead of pills. Learn how it's working for one man who made the switch. Plus, a chance to serve those who risked it all for our freedom. How you can make sure local veterans get to their appointments on time. A consumer alert tonight, a baby formula brand sold only at Walmart is being recalled. Perrigo Company says more than 23,000 containers of its Parents' Choice Advantage infant formula with iron could contain metal. The affected formulas have a use-by date of February 26, 2021. You can return the product to any Walmart and get your money back. Oklahoma is a unique state in that it was the first to sue pharmaceutical companies for what officials say is their part in the opioid crisis. And we're coming up on 1 year of legalizing medical marijuana. As other communities across the country try to find the answers to the opioid crisis, Illinois is testing out a program that lets doctors give patients access to medical marijuana instead of an opioid prescription. Chris Stewart talks to a man who believes pot helped him get clean.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Be a Voice on Usula Radio. This is Britt Carpenter.
When Britt Carpenter takes to the air on his Philadelphia radio show, it's a chance to pay it forward, to talk to those dealing with issues like addiction, a battle that he knows too well.
I was addicted to opiates for many years. I started back in the early 2000s after a car accident.
To treat his injury, doctors gave him painkillers.
I had this bag full of pain pills that looked like a Pez dispenser threw up in it.
And like so many others, what was supposed to help him nearly destroyed him. Those painkillers leading to a heroin addiction.
Fell into a bad situation again, met the wrong person, and went down the pathway of hell for a few years after that.
Now, 4 years sober, and rehab was not his savior.
I looked at different ways that I can help myself go clean off the opiates, and one of them was, I did extensive research, was on utilizing cannabis.
He kicked narcotics with cannabis. For years, Britt had used marijuana recreationally, but this time, pot helped him detox.
I wasn't feeling as shaky as most people or as I had done before when I tried to go clean. I wasn't sweating as much. I was able to have an appetite. I was able to gain almost 40 pounds.
As helpful as cannabis was for him, It is illegal in his home state of Pennsylvania. But now some states that have not legalized marijuana are realizing cannabis can be an answer in the opioid crisis. Right now, Illinois has a pilot program where doctors can give patients access to medical marijuana as an alternative to opioids. So far, 1,500 people have taken part.
That was Chris Stewart reporting. And looking ahead tonight, a chance to help local heroes by making sure they get to their appointments on time. The Oklahoma DAV is looking for volunteers to help give free rides to veterans to and from their medical appointments. There will be 2 training sessions tomorrow at the Hard Rock Casino. You do not have to be a veteran to volunteer. Those training sessions are being held tomorrow at the Hard Rock at 10 and 11 a.m. Well, Clint is in for Mike tonight, and it has just been a busy time in Oklahoma weather.
Oh, yeah, another busy weekend for us with severe weather, heavy rainfall. Had a break today, but we're going to have one more opportunity for some storms tomorrow night, and then hopefully the rest of the week will be a lot calmer for us. But look at Cookson. That's in southern Cherokee County. Over the weekend, 6 inches of rain, 6.14 inches. Tahlequah, 5.5 inches of rain. Talala, 4.66 officially at the airport in Tulsa. 2.37 inches of rain. So we dried out today. Looks like most of tomorrow will be dry, but tomorrow evening, heading into the overnight hours, the next system pushes out of Kansas. Some heavy downpours and even some gusty winds we'll be watching with this complex tomorrow night into early Wednesday morning. And then after tomorrow, well, we're going to see